When you love somebody, it's not about doing it for them and then resenting them later. It's about letting them figure it out and find their way. We end up taking care of things, or we end up, like, air quote, putting a boundary in place with somebody. And then we do the thing anyway when it's not done in our time frame or the way we want or whatever. And we don't let our partner experience the natural consequence of them fumbling. Mainstream mental health is flawed, and I'm pulling back the curtain. I'm Andrea Clark, a former family therapist who walked away from the system to expose the truth. After my own journey from medication maze to holistic healing, I'm here to challenge the status quo and reveal the mental health truths most people don't know. The truth about mental health is your radical roadmap to wellness. Raw stories, expert insights, breakthrough solutions. This is where traditional modalities end and real healing begins. Modern feminism has women confused. They are getting it twisted, and a lot of them are actually acting more like men or giving in to patriarchal programming than they even freaking realize. So I want to dive into this from the perspective of, first of all, I am a feminist. I believe in equality. I believe in women's rights. I believe in equal pay. I believe in equal opportunities for women. But I also think that modern feminism has become, the culture of modern feminism has become so extreme that women are confused. And they can feel a lot of shame around what they want. And they are believing things for themselves and their life that they don't even truly want deep down inside. I'm actually a perfect example of that. So I'm going to be really vulnerable and share those things with you today. But originally, feminism was born from a place of fighting for women's equality, fighting for women's rights. And we're not even going to get into the very nuanced layers of white feminism versus, all the women that white females in the feminist movement have left behind. And we're not even going to talk about that today because I don't even feel qualified. I know it's just something that I have, started exploring over the last several years to become more aware, to become a better ally. It's something I'm educating myself about, but that's a whole entire other thing that isn't even included in what I'm about to talk about. We all know why the feminist movement started. Okay. It was for equality. It was for the choice to stay home or go to work. It was for, if you went to work, that you had adequate leave. It was all about what women needed culturally at the time. Now, what feminism has become about is truly competing with men. And the culture surrounding feminism is so intense. We have forgotten a whole group of women, the woman who wants to be the stay-at-home mom, the woman who wants to tap into her nurturing energy and be led by a man, right? And to let certain things melt away from her mind and have it be taken care of by her partner. And what feminism is doing is now looking at that as weakness and looking at those women as having their priorities mixed up. It's like it's so fucking twisted to me. The feminism has gotten so far from what it once was. And in many ways, I believe that the patriarchy has influenced the feminist movement in ways that the feminist movement never wanted in the first place. Like the patriarchy has infiltrated the feminist movement through women having these very skewed biases about what it means to be a woman. What, gender roles versus gender rights and things like that. And no, it doesn't, you don't have to be the one to do the dishes to be the woman in the house, but you are, as a woman, you're able to give life. you're able to carry a baby, whether you choose to or not, is that not the point of this. But like, we do have very specific gifts based on our sex. We will never get away from that. We can manufacture stuff all we want. We can I know somebody born without a uterus who was able to have a uterine transplant and carry a baby in their stomach for 9 months. We can do all sorts of science. We can do all sorts of things to create a process of sex equality or whatever. You guys, if you're going to come at me for like, she called it this and gender and sex, I don't give a shit about any of that right now. Like, I'm just speaking from the heart. So we can do all of that. We can have advanced science. We can have people have gender reassignment. We can have people have surgeries. We can have people take hormone replacement. It's not about that. It's about that if you are a woman, you were born a woman, that is your sex, and you have the nurturing qualities inside of you. I know not all women do, but you have the nurturing quality. And I would argue that's trauma, BTW. Ooh, you guys are going to come for me so hard today. A lot of times when we can't access our qualities that are related very specifically to our sex, it's trauma. It's programming from our upbringing. You guys, struggle to access the nurturing side of myself outside of my child, and not even 100% of the time my husband. Okay. Or I used to. That was not because I'm just not a nurturing person or I'm not a nurturing woman. I'm an outlier. It was my trauma. Okay. And the more that I heal from that trauma, the more I am able to access my nurturing soft side that I didn't even think existed in the first place. Okay. So that's the other thing, is that the the modern feminine movement, it takes trauma into account, but not in the way that serves all women. Okay. The extreme feminist movement has fueled my dysfunction for years. Like, I have allowed this movement to influence me in a way that has fueled my dysfunction, my trauma patterns around men, safety, and what I think it means to be a successful woman, valuing money and power over nurturing my own child at times. Okay. And it doesn't mean that I can't have a successful career. It doesn't mean that I can't be the breadwinner. You guys, I am still the breadwinner in my marriage, but I have a completely polarized marriage now. I have a juicy, magnetized marriage where I'm still the breadwinner. I'm still bringing in the most money, but that isn't making me feel like I'm powerful. Ooh, he can't hurt me. Ooh, all this crap that we frequently fall into when we're busy like hating men. Now, do I think that some men are scum, some men abuse their privilege? Of course, but we have gone so extreme to essentially generalizing things to the whole entire male species. And it's less about fighting the patriarchy and the programming, and it's become like us trying to prove ourselves. And the whole point of feminism in the beginning was that we shouldn't have to prove ourselves. But now we're busy proving ourselves. We're literally running the same rat race that men do, but as women, with each other and women towards men. It is really sad to me how we function. And what I realized is that it was ruining a beautiful marriage. Like, I have an amazing spouse, and it was my ideas that I adopted from the patriarchy about what I need to be fulfilled. The success I need to have to be X, Y, and Z. Like, when I talk to women now, most of what comes out of their mouth is all of their accomplishments. Like, they think that their accomplishments are what make them valuable. They're super educated. They have a master's. They have a PhD. They run a multi-million-dollar business. They're a CEO. They're a this. They're a that. And they don't say anything about, and you can tell that they don't value the fact that they're inherently a woman, that they're inherently feminine, that they have this beautiful, magical feminine power, because they've bypassed all of it to just prove, accomplish. Like money, success. And I'm not saying you can't have a desire to be successful. I'm a very driven woman. I'm a very driven person. But as I continue to heal and as I continue to feel safe to access these more feminine parts of myself, I really have a lot of fulfillment in just spending time with my family, in peace, in harmony, in flow, in my home. And I still am a multiple six-figure earner. So you guys, this is where it's gotten so extreme that it's almost like either or. And the women who choose to be at home and the women who choose to raise a family, right? And who choose to maybe let their partner make certain decisions about certain things, they are shamed. Culturally, we shame them, and it's really gross. Women are turning on each other. It's now this like we, right? These powerful women who can stand on our own and do our own thing against them, the women who desire other things, as if one is superior to the other. Like, what? The patriarchy has very successfully gotten us to turn on each other. But in the end, we have nobody to blame but ourselves. And what I found that it did in my own marriage was it killed the polarity. It doesn't matter how much of a feminist you are. If you can't recognize that men and women are inherently different and we were created, whether you believe in God or whatever, we were created to complement one another. Like we have complementary energies. Men have penises. Women have vaginas. The penis goes in the vagina. Okay? Like you can't make a woman a man and you can't make a man a woman in the sense of the dynamic in the marriage, okay? And we were created to complement one another. Men have certain energetic qualities and dispositions that when they're a healthy man, it is very, very nurturing to a woman. And women have specific energetic qualities and dispositions that when they are healthy, it complements the man. They do a dance with each other. It's a yin and yang situation, right? And when you have two people in a partnership or a marriage, and both are trying to be the leader all the time, like this concept of, well, why can't you just both be equal partners? Equal partners and leadership are two different things. Equal partners is about making decisions together. Equal partners is about sharing the workload together, right? But sharing the decision-making process and sharing the workload doesn't always mean that everything is split equally. Like that can't actually be a thing, you guys. It can't be a thing. So let's take a very simple example. Let's say that you and your partner, one person cooks dinner and one person cleans up. And for you two, that works. Maybe you rotate it. In fact, that's what happens in my home a lot is one person will cook dinner and one person will clean up. Or sometimes we cook dinner together and one person will clean up, whatever, right? Like different things. And for us, that feels fair. But maybe in a marriage, one person hates cooking and doing the dishes. And for them, that doesn't feel like it's using their gifts or their energy in the best way. So there's an arrangement. And I'm not saying if it's the woman or the man, I don't really give a shit. But let's just say the arrangement is that one person, they are naturally better at cooking and they don't mind doing the dishes or whatever. Maybe even it's an outlet for them. Like some people like to do the dishes to blow off some steam or, get away from the heavier things in life for a while, right? And so that particular partner does the dishes and makes the dinner. But the other partner maybe balances the budget every single month before their budget meeting and takes care of the bill pay, right? And takes care of the pet appointments, and they're doing 3 things. But this other partner really loves that because they hate balancing the budget and they hate making appointments and getting on the phone. And so this person has 3 tasks and this person has 2 tasks. My gosh, do they not have an equal partnership? You guys, like, there's so much tit for tatting in our world right now around this. And you need to understand that equal doesn't mean fair and fair doesn't mean equal. And there's a lot of women who don't like to cook. And there's a lot of husbands or men who love to cook. And that doesn't make him any less of a man, right? That doesn't make her any less of a woman. And if there's a woman who loves to nurture her family through cooking, cool. That doesn't make her some, passive woman who's just letting the patriarchy, whatever. And as you're listening, I'm sure you're like, Andrea, this is such an oversimplification. I'm being flippant for illustration purposes because the world, right, like this feminist movement and patriarchy and all this crap, like, makes us feel like certain things have to be a certain way. And at the end of the day, if it works for you, if you feel loved and cared for and safe and seen and supported, and like your partner shares the load in a way that works for your family, and you don't feel like, it's unfair or that you are not both equally burdened or whatever, right? Because let's be very clear that sharing the load doesn't mean that nobody feels burdened ever, right? Life is full of a lot of stuff. And so it doesn't mean that your burden's going to be completely gone as a woman in a family, having a family and in a marriage just because your partner is sharing the mental load. It means you both are going to be equally burdened. And maybe it might take some pressure off of you. Like my husband shares the mental load and it takes a certain amount of pressure off of me, but I still have plenty of other pressures on me. Okay. So like this idea that, well, if he would just do this, and this, like I'd be good. Right? Or he needs to be this equal partner. You guys, like equal is a subjective thing. And we've harped on this so much that now what we're doing is bypassing our own right to evaluate the things that we're doing that are contributing to our problems in our marriage. So what I mean by that is like I have really over the last couple of years, taken a step back and looked at where am I having expectations that are actually making things harder. Okay. So again, I'm a business owner. My business does multiple millions of dollars a year, right? Like I'm accountable to a lot of people. I have people who I coach, who I mentor, people on my team, like all sorts of stuff. Okay. So, and some of the things that I thought I was supposed to do as a successful business owner, right? Like make sure we're taking these really awesome trips because I work all the time and I have a certain amount of guilt for working all the time and doing these huge pushes in my business and not being as available to my kid. So now I want to make sure like we have these really great experiences from all this money that I've earned. And so then I plan these elaborate trips and then I'm annoyed that my spouse isn't helping me plan these elaborate trips, but like at the end of the day, the truth is the elaborate trips were my fucking idea, right? And I'm like, I never stepped back enough to see that like my husband and daughter actually, they love to travel, but like they actually are cool with us traveling less. And they're cool with things not being all like extravagant and extensive all the time. But until I started questioning myself and questioning like, where do some of these behaviors come from? Right? Like where does some of this come from? I was putting so much pressure and stress on myself all the time that I wanted to take trips to like escape my own life. Well, that's not my spouse's problem. That's not my daughter's problem. Right? And the other piece was that I would make things more complicated. Like there were times when I wanted things to be done a certain way for whatever reason. I don't even know why. You guys, at this point, like, again, I'm going to use a really benign example. I used to really care how the dishwasher was loaded. I used to really care. I don't give a shit now. And it gets loaded. My daughter loads it. My husband loads it. I barely ever have to load the dishwasher. Because when they were loading the dishwasher, I would come up behind them and correct them. I'd want it done a certain way. Feel like, oh my gosh, you're like wasting, you're wasting energy and water if we don't load it enough to where like we can fit as many dishes as possible. Oh, you didn't rinse that dish enough. Okay, well, so guess what? I taught my daughter, because she unloads the dishwasher, I taught my daughter that if there's food stuck to the dish, she needs to put it back. She needs to like scrub it, like soak it a little bit and put it back. I would rather have to run a dish again than be correcting my husband and treating him like a child, because it needs to be my way and it needs to be done right the first time. That's just one example of how we as women, we want our spouses to step up. We want them to share the mental load. We want them to do certain things, yet the way we respond to them when they do it doesn't invite them to do it again, because it makes them feel shitty. It makes them feel like our 12-year-old son. It makes them feel incompetent. It emasculates. Like, we are subtly emasculating our men by how we talk to them. So you guys, when I say these things, I'm not saying it in a way that's like men shouldn't be accountable for the things they do, that men shouldn't step up, that men shouldn't work on their own junk, that men shouldn't clean up their act, that men shouldn't create safety for women or safety in their marriage. They should do all these things, but they're not going to do it because we're like harping on them. We need to allow other men in this space who have done the work and understand. You guys, it's such a beautiful time to be alive and such a horrible time to be alive all at the same time, because we're seeing so many male coaches step up and demonstrate what it means to be in their healthy masculine and create safety for women. And they're like launching programs and having men's healing circle. We need to let men get other men in line. Okay? Men are not going to respond to women. Just like we as women who care about feminism, care about our rights, care about our success, we don't respond to men. We respond to other women. That is how we're wired, you guys. Like, this is just human wiring and human conditioning. And so we as women, I'm not saying we shouldn't fight for our rights. I'm not saying we shouldn't tell our spouse how we feel. I'm not saying that we shouldn't ever protest. I'm not saying that we shouldn't vote a certain way. I'm not saying that we shouldn't express, that we shouldn't go to Senate and present things. Like, that's not what I'm saying. But we as women expect men to respond to us the same way that other women respond to us. Okay? Women can mentor women, men can mentor men. Okay? When it comes to this, I'm not trying to get into like a race discussion, anything, but you guys, I've done a lot of presentations where I'm put in front of women of color. And I know that I'm not going to get through to a woman of color as a white woman the same way a woman of color would get through to them, because I don't understand what it's like to be a woman of color, right? I don't understand. So I can say a lot of things, and some of it could be very valid, the things I'm teaching or whatever. It could be very valid, and some of it could actually be very true for them. I will never be able to reach or break through a woman of color the same way a woman of color would, because likeness creates a feeling of safety and bonding of shared experience. Okay. And so when we're trying to correct I really hope that illustration got across the way I was intending it to. This is not about me trying to bring up race or anything. Like, if it's anything, it's, I understand my privilege and how out of touch I can be as a white woman from other issues that I haven't experienced. Okay. So just as a side note, but I just did it as an illustration, because that's just an experience that I've had being in the therapy space and the education space and the coaching space for a long time. And I'm just acutely aware. And to me, it's like it pertains to male and female as well, right? Like, women are screaming and yelling and shouting from the rooftops, trying to convince their partners of something, and they're trying to, they're making bids by criticizing, by correcting, by being like, why can't you step up? Right? Also, their energy of looking at their spouse as weak. As you guys, I'll be honest with you, I have had some really not okay thoughts about my husband. I've literally thought in my mind that he's a pussy. Like, how disrespectful, right? And so, and as I step back and I do my own healing around this, I realize I'm like, that is such a construct that I've adopted from like the patriarchy. And I'm like the one trying to, fight the patriarchy. I'm like, wow, Andrea, you need to get a grip. Because yeah, maybe he's not, my husband at the time wasn't as in his masculine energy as I needed him to be. But it would let me not look at what I was doing to contribute to the situation. And we're just spiraling into this place where it's all about pointing the fingers. It's all about tearing down. It's all about hatred from both sides. And ladies, like, in my opinion, at this point, we're at a crossroads. We can either clean up our side of the street in our marriages and our partnerships or not. But it's just going to keep us spiraling into this place of hatred and resentment and anger towards men, anger towards our spouses, thinking that they're incompetent. And if that worked and made real change, don't you think we would have seen it already? Probably. It doesn't fucking work. Okay? And nobody changes because they're being criticized to death. Nobody changes because they're experiencing coldness from the person who they love. Nobody changes because they're being emasculated, right? Or emotionally and mentally castrated, right? And so people change because they're invited to through positive words. You guys, a lot of you feel like, well, I'm not going to give him fake compliments. And this is how I used to feel. It used to be like a full body no. I'm not going to praise him for the bare minimum. Okay. Here's the thing though. I want you to think about what motivates you. Like, when people speak life over you, does it make you want to step up even more? As humans, we are programmed to respond, to move toward the thing that makes us feel good, that makes us feel confident, that makes us feel like we're doing a good job, that makes us feel accepted, that makes us feel wanted. We lean towards that. Criticism, ostracizing, coldness, emotional guilt trips, mental guilt trips. We might try to fix things temporarily, but that actually closes us off energetically, and it actually makes us guard ourselves and lean away. And women can be really good at nitpicking, over-explaining, right? Men don't need to talk things out that much, like, compared to when we literally process our emotions differently. And many times what I was finding myself doing was I was emotionally and mentally processing my feelings out loud to my husband about him. And all he was hearing was what a piece of shit he was. When I was thinking, oh, I'm just like processing and I'm letting him know how I'm feeling. Listen, I still let him know how I feel. But I work through it first with myself or with somebody I trust who respects our marriage. And then I come to him very concisely with how I feel, how I experience something, and what I need or what I want to ask for. And let me tell you guys, he has stepped up in ways that I never even imagined. The polarity in our marriage is juicier than ever. It's more dynamic than ever. He's sharing the mental load naturally, like things I haven't even asked him to do. He's just seeing it and doing it. He's leaving lists for our daughter. He's expecting her to follow through. I used to be the one that would push for the follow through. Now he's monitoring and teaching her follow through. They're getting things done. He's taking care of things. He has his own system he's using for remembering. None of this stuff I told him to do. I invited him into that space because I made space for him to figure it out. I have stopped telling him how to do things. I have stopped instructing him all the time. If there are things that he might not know how to do it, which I know that that's hard to believe that a grown man might not know how to do certain things. I've lived on my own since I was 17. And this is another great example of how I brought in certain junk into my relationship and certain expectations into my relationship that I didn't realize was hurting my relationship. I've lived on my own since I was 17 years old. Of course, I have more skills than somebody who didn't live on their own until much later in life, had a mom that didn't really teach him skills, and then was in a previous marriage where he was kind of taken care of in a lot of ways and coddled. Okay. And so he's all about getting the skills, but he might not have the same skills that I have. And he's a very skilled person. He's a brilliant man. He has a brilliant career, and he's an incredible father and all these things. But there are certain areas of life where I just happen to have more knowledge. So instead of me nitpicking him or criticizing him or blowing up on him for not doing it the way that I know how to do it, I've become more invitational. And if I ask him to take care of something or he tells me he's going to take care of something, I'll just say to him like, okay, cool. Let me know if I've taken care of stuff like that before. Like, let me know if you have any questions on how I handled it. Like, I know you've got it, but if you have any questions, like, I'm always here. It's an open invitation. It's me giving him the space to mess up and figure it out and even grow up some more. It's not me mothering him and teaching him how to grow up. It's me being like, okay, well, if you mess it up, in my mind, I'm like, well, if he messes it up, I guess he could call back. That's not on me, right? If he comes to me and tells me like, oh, I tried to take care of this and maybe it didn't work out a certain way, I'll be like, well, did you think of this? No. Okay, well, maybe you can call back. I don't know. What do you think, right? Like, it's very much this invitation energy instead of this, you need to call back and you need to ask this and blah, 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 and you forgot this. And like we always know better. Women think we know better all the time. What if we dropped our defenses and we dropped our egos and we just got curious instead of always knowing better all the time? And even if you do know it, what if you just let him figure it out? It's the same when you're a parent. We know all the things, but aren't we letting our children find their way and figure it out? People, when you love somebody, it's not about doing it for them and then resenting them later. It's about letting them figure it out and find their way. And the other thing that we do a lot of times in our relationships are we end up taking care of things, or we end up, like, air quote, putting a boundary in place with somebody. And then we do the thing anyway when it's not done in our time frame or the way we want or whatever. And we don't let our partner experience the natural consequence of them fumbling. And then we're pissed. We're pissed. I had to take care of it again. I had to do it again. I had to da-da-da-da-da. And it's like, but did you have to? Did you have to? You actually didn't have to. There's a lot that, like, yeah, there's certain things you can't let fall through the cracks. When I'm talking about this, I am not talking about being married to a narcissist. I'm not talking about being married to, like, somebody who's an alcoholic or a substance abuser. I'm not talking about somebody who, like, refuses to get a job. I'm not talking about, like, completely, dysfunctional people or severely mentally ill people or, things like that. That's not what I'm talking about. Being married to somebody who is good, who cares, who wants to do right by you, but for some reason, something's happened between the two of you, and now this dynamic is like, you feel like his mama. Okay? There's a difference. Okay? So if you're married to somebody who's an alcoholic and they're, like, very dysfunctional and you're doing everything for them, I want to encourage you to ask yourself, what is going on with you that you're still in that dynamic, or that you haven't put some serious boundaries in place, right? Same with everything else. So that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about two fairly healthy people, right? When I say healthy, I mean like mentally and emotionally, like, who have brought some baggage in and they're allowing their baggage to affect their dynamics. And I'm speaking more to women right now because that's what we have power over. We have power over ourselves. We have power over how we respond. So many women are deeply desiring their spouses to step up for polarity in their marriage. But then they're scared of polarity because they have these crazy beliefs that polarity means weakness, that if you let your husband make a decision, my gosh, it's not equal rights, or now I'm losing my rights. And it's like, in a dynamic where there's two people, you can co-lead, but at the end of the day, even co-leading at times means one person is going to trust the other person's judgment in that particular scenario and go along with what the other person is wanting to do or recommending to do. Co-leadership, and even like submitting at times to your partner's leadership, means you trust them enough to make the decision. It means you trust them enough that you can, like, just let it go and let it be handled by somebody else. This whole rhetoric around equal partners and why does a woman have to submit to a man and all this crap, you guys, there are times when a man who's, like, typically the leader in the home he's also submitting to his partner because he leads based on what she and the children or she needs. That's a different form of submission. Okay? It's an equal submitting to each other. It's just expressed differently. It's expressed differently. You guys, do you know how many times that my husband will like just come and let me melt into his arms, and he'll like nurture me and just like give me so much love and tenderness? He had to pay attention and submit his own like mood and his own preferences in that moment to what I need. But in that moment, I also feel like I'm melting into him and letting him like nurture me and like lead me in this way emotionally. It's a mutual thing. It's just, it looks different for each partner. For males and females, how it looks. And at the end of the day, we cannot get away from the way that we are designed. You guys, I used to hate being hugged. Like, unless I asked for it, when I was upset, I did not like being touched. I did not like being consoled. It felt uncomfortable to me. And I would reject my husband hugging me. I would just be like, no, I want to be alone, blah, blah, blah. That was him trying to love me with his masculine nurturance. And as I've done a lot of healing, I really embrace that and I freaking love it now. Like, I can't get enough of it, but it felt unsafe and weird. That's my own shit that I had to work through. That's my own trauma because I was emotionally neglected. And it was really interesting because as we're both doing this healing work and he's stepping more into his masculine, right? And I'm stepping more into my feminine, and the polarity in our relationship just increases, and this the magnetism between us and him really stepping up and taking more of a leadership role in our house. You guys, if you want your spouse to be a leader, you have to give them space to be a leader. It doesn't always mean he's leading you, right? Like, it just means he's leading. He's leading himself. He's leading the family. He's leading the kids. He's leading his life. And sometimes that also means he's leading you. And you can't have you can't have all of that, but not him ever leading you. Leading just means that you're letting somebody else take the reins for something. It's not a big deal. It's really actually not a big deal. Why does one gender or why do we as women, like, we have to lead all the time? We are receivers. If you're leading, you're not receiving. And female energy has very much a receiving energy. This is why we have autoimmune issues. This is why we have crazy high cortisol. This is why we can't get rid of the belly weight. This is why we're up in the middle of the night between 3 and 4 a.m. Because we are constantly competing and trying to have leader energy all the time and leading energy and initiating energy when we are inherently not initiators. Doesn't mean we can never initiate, but we're doing it to our detriment. And when we do that in our marriage, we don't leave space for our spouse to initiate. And the more we initiate and initiate and initiate and initiate, the more he actually retreats into his feminine energy. And then that's where it comes to where I'm like literally in my mind thinking my husband's a fucking pussy when he's not. Ladies. And there was a point where I was really vulnerable and I'm like, will you come like hug me and spoon me? And it felt really vulnerable to ask because he didn't offer it and he didn't just come do it. And he said to me, he goes, of course I will. I would love to. Like, I just didn't know if that's okay because historically, like, you don't want me to. And it made me really sad, you guys. Like, it made me sad, but it also made me realize, like, these are the little things that we do as women who very much are programmed by the external world and also our own trauma that we're not like taking radical responsibility for, like our own patterning, our own nervous system dysfunction, our own rigidity, that we're not like taking a step back and going, how does my response contribute to reinforcing who I don't want my partner to be? Because I've always craved for him to give me nurturance and console me when I'm upset or whatever. But if I've rejected it for years, of course he's going to stop trying. And then I'm going to feel like he doesn't care. And I'm going to make assumptions about what that means. But really, that was on me. That was on me. So these are just a couple of examples that I want to give you guys. Bond Charge brings you cutting-edge wellness tools like red light therapy, EMF shields, cold therapy, and light therapy glasses, all designed to support your body's natural healing process. Red light therapy is clinically shown to boost mitochondrial function and reduce inflammation. EMF shields help to protect against the effects of everyday radiation exposure from our devices. Blue light blocking glasses are shown to improve sleep and reduce eye strain. I am obsessed with so many of their products. My home is stacked with EMF protectors. I use their red light tools weekly, and I love their light sensitivity glasses. I'm seeing a huge reduction in my migraines. Bond Charge is HSA and FSA eligible, so investing in your health has never been easier. Visit bondcharge.com and use code MHM for 15% off. You can also check the show notes for links and codes. And the other thing is that we don't always have to know the answer, right? Like, let's say you're in this process of stepping more into your softness, but it feels weird. Stepping more into your feminine vulnerability, it feels unsafe. It feels weird. It doesn't mean that you're going to have it all figured out right away. And you might not even fully know what you need yet, but just accept what he gives you. Right? Because that's how you're going to figure it. When I say accept what he gives you, what I mean is, like, let's just say, going back to the illustration of my spouse, like, comforting me, right? Unless you actually let him start trying and do whatever his, intuition or his urge is to do, then you don't know. You're not going to ever know. You're not going to, like, figure it out from never having any kind of contact. We heal in relationships, you guys, and in dynamics. And so you're never going to get to the point where you know exactly what you need from your partner at the time, unless you both are open to experimenting and figuring it out and being vulnerable and fumbling a little bit, right? So maybe you don't want a hug. Maybe you just want him to hold your hand. You're not going to know you don't want a hug unless you let him try to give you a hug. And when he's giving you the hug, if it doesn't feel right, you don't have to be like, this doesn't feel right, or stop hugging me, or I don't like that. Just be like, when you realize, like, you want him to hold your hand, you say, will you hold my hand? It's going to be like, of course I will. And I'll hold your hand. Not everything has to be this like, you know what I'm saying? Where you have to control it exactly. And you have to say what it has to be. Like, it just doesn't have to be that way. And that's where we're choking out masculine energy in our spouses. It's our energy. It's this like hyper independent, this traumatized, this like, I have to be this way, or I'm not safe to be this way energy. And at this point, if you're somebody who wants to have, like, a really juicy dynamic, you want polarity in your marriage, you actually do want to be cared for, even if you don't know how to be cared for yet, and to feel safe being cared for, like, you have to be okay with it being messy. And you have to let go of what you think it's supposed to look like. That's part of the issue too, is you want to direct. Like, you have to let that go. And you have to give your partner space to try and to experiment and to fumble and all of those things. And the thing that you need to praise isn't that they got it right the way you want it. You need to praise the effort. Praise the effort that they're giving. Speak life over what you want to call them into, right? Like, speak life over. When my husband started doing these to-do lists with our daughter, and I was like shocked, you guys. Like, I was like, who is this man? I told him, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, thank you so much. You have no idea the load that took off of me, and just made me feel so much more relaxed, and like took such a load off my mind. And you're such a good dad. Like, you're such a good, well, we call him Papa. You're such a good Papa. And like, you're just stepping into being such an amazing leader, and your leadership is amazing. Is his leadership perfect? No. Does he have a ways to go? Are there certain things that he still does that drives me crazy? Of course. But I'm speaking life over those. Like, if I want a flower to grow, I have to water it. I have to fertilize it. A person isn't going to grow if you're not fertilizing them. They're definitely not going to grow if you're spraying weed killer all over them all the time. It's like spraying weed killer over a flower, so you're like spraying it and spraying it and spraying. You're like, grow, why aren't you growing? And you're just like, grow, why aren't you? why the fuck, Linda, don't you think that it's growing? It's because you're trying to nurture it with the wrong thing, right? You think that telling them the things that they're doing wrong, right? Or how they could have done it better is the thing that's going to make them improve. No. You need to really highlight what they are doing that you love, that you appreciate, that makes you feel good. And if you can't do that, then you've got some shit to heal. Like, you have your own junk that you need to heal, and it's not their freaking fault, right? And you need to be real with yourself about that. And that's where I feel like women are bypassing that part and putting it all on men. Even if your trauma is you guys, I was raped by my father. I was trafficked to other men by my father. Like, he got paid to traffic me to other men. I was restrained and raped by 4 men as a child. Okay. My ex-husband had an affair on me and humiliated me and so many things. Okay. I've had other type of issues, or like being degraded by boys throughout my lifetime. My father was very neglectful, and I have to take responsibility for the healing part of that. I take zero responsibility for the abuse and for the unfairness or any of that. But if I'm bringing junk into my marriage, also, I watched my mom go from being a stay-at-home mom who didn't have any money, and it almost like was like she seemed powerless, not having any money, right? Which, you guys, is really on her for not making an arrangement with my father where she did have money, where she did have money in savings for herself and for us or whatever. Like, that's on her to not step up and ask for that, right? Which she could have. And then going into a career where she climbed the corporate ladder for decades and is very financially successful now. And essentially her whole energy is like, you never share your money. She won't marry my stepdad because she doesn't want to share her money with him. Okay. And because he makes less money than she does. This is a problem. Is it her fault that she has the programming that she has? No. Is it her responsibility to heal it, to have a more polarized relationship if that's what she wanted? Yes. So that's the part that I feel that we as women are bypassing, is we aren't taking responsibility for the things that we need to heal so that we can have these things that we're desiring. Okay? And this whole thing where women are shaming other women, whether it's on purpose or not, for the things that they want in their marriage. Like, you guys, I talked about like submitting to my husband's leadership, and some women in my comments just like went wild. They were just like so appalled. And I'm like, listen, people, I'm the breadwinner in my family. I make the most money. Like, I'm highly intelligent. I'm all these things. And I don't want to be all the things all the time. Like, I want my husband to take the load off me. That would mean I'd have to submit to his judgment, to let him take the load off of me. And what is wrong with it? Like, we're like martyrs, right? On one hand, we're all talking about how the mental load and the this and the that and all this stuff. And then the other hand, there's this whole group of women who shame women who want to hand it over to their partner, who don't care about, how much money they make or what. Like, why can't we just have the desires that we have? Like, why do we have to be wrong for any of the desires that we have? And when are we going to start cleaning up our side of the street and looking inward at what it is that's hindering us from allowing ourselves to be cared for, to receive, to feel like there's some other agenda all the time? Like, that's an us problem. Whether we started out that way or not isn't even relevant anymore. And that's like what everybody's fighting over. And it's like, it's hurting our lives. It's hurting so many marriages. It's making people not even want to get married but they do have a desire for connection. I'm not saying you have to be married to be connected, but there is something very beautiful about a monogamous partnership between a man and a woman. And part of it getting ruined is not just on men and men being dum-dums. There is a certain amount of it that we are responsible for, ladies. And this is what I've taken radical responsibility for. My own junk, my own programming from my dad, and even watching my mom, right, with with all of that and money and success and really armoring herself. And I've really taken responsibility for what of that programming from both have I brought into my marriage, and how was that contributing to the lack of polarity, his lack of leadership or feeling like he could step up, his like he is naturally a more passive person, but also like he was way less passive when we first got together. So that tells me like a pattern started to happen between us, right? Like I've just been really honest with myself. And by me cleaning up my side of the street in our relationship, the way that he is flourishing and then I'm flourishing is insane. Like if you guys could see it from the inside, your minds would be blown. Our sex is so much more just like intense and delicious and more orgasms, more sex, more trust. He's taking care of things. He feels confident and competent and good about himself. I feel so well cared for and loved and just cherished. Like it's amazing because we've really stepped into our polarity. But I had things that I needed to clean up to be able to do that. It wasn't all on him. And for a long time, many years, I put it all on him. And that's the fucking problem, is that we're putting it all on men. And men need to mentor men in this way, and women need to mentor women. And then women, what you can do is do what you can, clean up what you can clean up, which is your stuff, your trauma, your patterns, your perspectives, your expectations. Okay? So this is something I'm very passionate about and that I might be doing more around here and there in some special episodes. If any of this resonated with you, please share this. Also, I'd love for you to send me a DM on my personal Instagram, andrea.clark.mft, and tell me your thoughts around this. All right, guys, I'll see you in the next episode. I am eternally grateful you tuned into The Truth About Mental Health. If this message matters to you, please spread the word by subscribing, leaving a 5-star review, and sharing with someone who needs this knowledge. Let's keep reclaiming our mental health together.